From adding new structures, new machines, and new items and tools to work with, add-ons are the blood life of Create Mod. And what a testament to a mod so good, it has its own mods. So a while ago, I made a video on 10 add-ons that I really think enhance the base experience of Create. Mods that changed the way you approached it in a balanced and interesting way that expanded upon the base factories and functionality. But a lot of people were disappointed to see their favorite add-ons weren't there. And I don't blame them. Not every add-on does that. Not every add-on's that balanced. Some add-ons are just for fun. Because having red-colored framed glass or even Copycat stairs doesn't necessarily enhance Create. It's not really a new mechanic or a new factory or anything like that. But sometimes these weird, cursed little blocks are just fun to have. And some add-ons, well, some add-ons let you do this. Yeah! Die, Phantoms! Woo! Stuffs and Additions is what adds all this funky stuff on me. It adds zinc, brass, and copper armor, as well as like slime boots for bounciness and fall damage negation, and then also stuff like quartz swords and brass pickaxes. This portable drill can be enchanted to mine 3x3, which is so cool. They even have a grappling hook, and of course, a flamethrower. It even has his own version of a jetpack and this like exoskeleton, but the jetpack doesn't really have a proper flight stat, so I don't really like it that much. My biggest issue with the mod is that everything is fueled through this really awkward system where you hold it in your offhand and then like toss buckets of water out, and the same thing with like coal or lava. And you can kind of get around that with fueling tanks and filling tanks, but you can't fuel either of them through a spout. You have to like manually right click on lava and water. Pretty annoying, but a lot of cool features. Trimmed is a super simple mod that just lets you use Create Mod components as armor trims. You can obviously use brass, you can even use rose quartz, and zinc. It's a very simple mod, but it looks stunning, and just makes Create feel a lot more integrated with the base game. On the topic of vanilla integrations, Oxidized is a must-have. With nothing more than a spout full of water, you can instantly oxidize copper at a much quicker rate, and of course you can do so automatically all the way from regular, fully oxidized, right? It goes to exposed, to weathered, to oxidized. One of those mods, it's like, why doesn't Create have this in itself? And on the topic of things Create should have on itself, keen-eyed viewers may have noticed this creative cog in the Oxidized clip, and that comes from Encased. Encased adds all this stuff, from brass gearboxes to copper mixers, industrial iron encased chain drives and presses, and even a creative block line of stuff. This is one of my favorite building mods. The recipes are cheap and just about as what you'd expect, they just use a different casing. There are some changes, like for instance, I think that's spoilers for another mod I have installed here. Guess there's a compatibility issue. There we go, that's looking a lot better. And there are some changes, like I'm pretty sure that like wooden shafts can't go above 32 RPM, which gives them a little bit of a mechanical, use. And I think the glass ones shatter if they're overstressed. But all that can be turned off in config, and I would do that because I just like having weird train casing gearboxes. I do suppose now is a good time to mention that a lot of Create add-ons, and I mean a good handful of them, have some issues. There's a reason I switched to EMI instead of JEI. My creative menu is broken. I don't know which of the 30 add-ons is doing it, but just a quick warning, some of these mods are gonna break things. Speaking of broken, let's talk Dreams and Desires. Dreams and Desires is a weird one. It adds a lot of cool building blocks like the ones behind me. Then it adds some interesting mechanics like faster saws and faster drills, and then just some straight up broken stuff like ancient debris tripling, and of course a diamond farm. And don't get me wrong, this stuff is really cool, but on multiplayer servers it can get out of hand really quickly. And especially something like the chopping saw with a back tank applied, it just gets pretty strong pretty fast. I know this one doesn't have a lot of durability, but there is an upgraded variant of it. This next one is kind of a silly one, but I'd never seen it before. These are turrets with an item drop from Guardians, and they're not too expensive, at least the basic version. And if you give them enough speed, they just do something brilliant. They have all these different modes, but in the basic one, they just fire Guardian beams off at hostile mobs around them. It's so cool. You can even set them to target passive mobs, other players, hostile and passive, hostile mobs and other players, passive mobs and other players, are all mobs except for the owner. You can't target yourself. That should be a feature. Now, this initial one you make from regular guardians, but there is an elder guardian version that can target more than one monster at a time, I think. So if I spawn in a bunch of creepers, you can see it just targets all of them in one go. Very cool. And the range is pretty far. I mean, you can see it got all the way out there. But the funniest bit is there's a helmet, and I'm pretty sure if you hold R, whoa. Okay, I changed the button press, but you can see you can fire off a guardian beam from your head, which is so cool. You can see I can just walk around absolutely beaming creepers. Truth is, I don't know why this is specifically a create add-on, but I love it. And at this point, you're probably wondering why I have goggles pinned to my head. Well, that's probably because of the create goggles add-on, I think. Truth is, I have no idea. What it really does, though, is add a bunch of different helmet variations that have goggles attached to them so that you don't have to change out your goggles or your headphone slot. Headphone? I mean, goggles and helmet. It's kind of like a mask for the Curios API. It also adds a bunch of new back tank variations. For some reason, the leather one and the iron and the chainmail look exactly the same, as does the leather. I don't know what's up with that, but the gold and the diamond look different. Can you dye the leather jetpack? Well, you're definitely supposed to be able to. I probably shouldn't have downloaded 30 add-ons altogether. Oh, looks like it was the goggles add-on. I uninstalled the mod, and my forehead is free and huge. And speaking of huge, one of my favorite add-ons. Personally, I get really tired building cobblestone farm after cobblestone farm after cobblestone farm, and on a server, it gets real laggy. And I say this is a favorite add-on of mine, but I just kind of discovered it. But this is Mechanical Extruder, which creates a sort of infinite cobble farmer, in this case stone, with the Mechanical Extruder. It's a really, really cheap, and if you've ever played with thermal expansion, you'll know why it's called that. But look at that, super simple, very easy. I think it's balanced too, because this is as fast as one can go, so you'd need a bunch of them to get really fast. And you can even change what kind of block it's creating by changing the block underneath of it. Although I don't understand why cobble and stone are the same recipe. Is it like a filtered thing? Like if I do that? No. Okay, I have no idea how to make cobble. That's kind of weird. I know this special guy kind of throws the balance of create out the window, but personally, I just think it saves on so many cobble farms. There's not a lot to say about create framed other than it just adds something that should be in create anyways, and it's a fantastic add-on. But it really is just colored variants of framed glass. I mean, I just look at it. Oh, that was weird. I mean, just look at it. Definitely something that Create should really have as a part of its building suite. And speaking of stuff that should be a part of Create's building suite, I mean, Create Copycat Plus is just a must-have. It's so cool. They're even functional, the ones that should be. I mean, who doesn't want the ability to create these weird cursed block variations that don't and shouldn't exist in the game, but also just work so well? And no reason to do a building segment without Design and Decor. I mean, Design and Decor is great. I don't know that it's my favorite building mod, but it definitely, I think, is one of the more versatile ones with just like an insane amount of different functional and non-functional building blocks. Like, I'm pretty sure these are vaults, actually. Truth be told, having checked this one out again, I really probably should have included it with Deco because it's really good. I also find it funny the dedication to making sure that every stone type is represented in the crushing wheels and the millstones. No other machine is overhauled by this one, just the stone ones. Connected is a really cool mod, and I really like its clutches. Like, this clutch will only allow rotation to go through it if it matches or exceeds the set value, so I'd have to buff this up to way more. The brake overstresses a machine, well, not when connected to this, but it's what it tries to do. And then the freewheel clutch is kind of a rotation check, so it clutches if the rotation is the wrong direction. It even adds a lot of the Copycat Plus copycats because they're made by the same developer. One of my absolutely favorite features are these like catalysts for haunting, washing, smelting, blasting, whatever. They're so good. No particles, no liquid mess, just automation. And they add a ton more stuff, but there are just a few things that I feel are a little broken. Like a 6-sided gearbox. I don't know. That's just so powerful. And sure, as you can see, the sides of the vertical one are top and bottom of the non-vertical one. They're slower, but anybody could do a gear ratio. And then this brass gearbox, each side is completely configurable as to what direction it goes in. And while having options is fantastic, I just think this mod erases some of the limitation creativity that Create has. You know what I mean? But then again, vertical vaults might just be worth it for me. And talking verticality, let's talk about balanced flight. Now, I obviously have to hop into survival mode to show this one off to you, but this is the flight anchor. You also need an ascended flight ring, which is a pretty expensive craft, and the anchor isn't exactly cheap either. It also hogs a ton of stress units, and it needs to be running, I think, at a minimum of 32? Yep, 32, and then you get yourself a beam, and as long as you have this ring in your inventory, you gain creative flight. Also, you can curio slot it. Now, the speed of 32 means I can fly 32 blocks out from the anchor, so that's already a pretty decent range, but it's not infinite. And if you want to go all the way and get maximum flight range, you need to cough up 65,500 stress units, or a level 4 steam engine, which actually isn't that much, but it's still more than, like, 2,000. Now, the creative flight is something I've already tested, but apparently there is enhanced elytra flight? Oh, whoa. Okay, so it automatically, like, fireworks for you. I think I'd rather just creative. But the best part of the mod is the placing animation. Ooh, right out of the display box because we're going fishing with the bobber detector add-on. It detects bobbers for deployers. This little box is the range of it, so the deployer has to target a water space inside of this little box, and when it detects a bobber, this green light lights up. I do think it also works with players, as you can see, and you'll also see, once a fish is ready to be caught, it'll emit a redstone signal, just like so. Very useful. Now, what this is used for is controlling a deployer with a fishing rod. You can see I've already been testing this farm. So I'm gonna get the deployer to fire off a little pulse, and you can see there's splishy splashies. You can see this has picked up the bobber, and my little system here is it will pulse a pulse extender to 1 second into an observer, into a repeater, into a redstone torch. That'll trigger the deployer. All that redstone mess is to say that the deployer will get pulsed 2 times. 1 and 2. There we go, to reel it in and to send it back out. And I mean, it's a pretty good farm. It's a fish farm, right? You gotta put 2 chests on it because it kind of throws items all over the place, but as long as you have these 2, you'll catch them all. And while we're out of the box, let's take a look at Create Simple Structures. There's not a whole lot to say about it other than that there's just these adorable structures that you can break into, and some of them even have like item filters and a little bit of wheat. Obviously, this one's a big old windmill. I don't think this is actually a glued together windmill, but I could be wrong. Well, there is a bearing. Ah, it is not. Though I do suppose it was meant to be. Hold on, let me fix it. That should do the trick. Whoa, there we go. I think that's spinning in the wrong direction. Oh yeah, that's windmill looking. But there's a crazy amount of structures that this adds. I mean, there's this big monolith thing behind me. And I think 2 seconds of flying around and there's another one. Yeah, they're a little common, I have to say. And this one does have a tree growing out of its roof. But it also adds these broken tracks, which you can't craft. You can only find them from easy structures. And there are plenty of juicy create mod components inside. Diesel generators is a cool mod, but if you value your ears, you'll put silencers on them. They're just a new way to generate a pretty moderate amount of stress units. You use some diesel, pump it in through the bottom, and there's a ton of options. There's even different kinds like the modular or even the huge. And it even comes with its own multi-block structure. Looks like a steam engine, but it's actually a distillation tower, so that you can distill any number of oils and fuels. In fact, even to find oil, you have to do it with this little clicky tool. It might get a little annoying after a while. Oh, there we go. There's oil in this chunk. That took forever. Once you find your oil chunk, you gotta get yourself this weird little contraption called the pump jack. And I think if I right-click this, it's too short. Don't let them hate you. You're just a short king. You gonna body shame my pump jack again? There we go. Nice. It even connects. And if we give it some speed, it'll start a wiggling. Oh yeah, we love wiggly pump jacks. And now you have to dig all the way to bedrock. And then use pipes to pillar all the way back up. And I'm pretty sure this has to be a fluid pipe? Encased fluid pipe? Is that how it works? This is the part that always confuses me. But it's something like this. Hold on, it might be that it replaces a pipe. No? Okay. Looks like something broke my creative menu and the pump jack hole was not oh my god, it was just that easy. What is this JEI bug, man? It's killing me. Well, either way, you can see there's 10,500 buckets of this stuff in here. Why is it not going in? I'm pumping it. Oh, I chose the one spot that you can't pump out of. Cool. Okay, well, I've made myself look plenty like an idiot, but there you go. Crude oil from the ground. This is a cool mod, and it works. My instance is just borked. Now this is an add-on I am super excited about. It's called Train Perspective, and it's pretty simple. I start controlling the train, and as I turn, my camera turns with it, and as I go up, I look up too. The camera's a little jittery, janky when you go up, but you can see as I go back down, it'll tilt. As I turn around, it'll tilt. I can still move my camera with it. It'll just sort of normalize to where the train should be looking. And it's too bad it's a bit stuttery when going up and down slopes, but it's so cool. Whee! Uh-oh. That was buggy. Oh my gosh. Am I good? Might need some more work. Tired of boring cogwheels? With extended cogwheels, you can change them to be just about any color of wood. Or you can give them a more metallic chic. I'm pretty sure the wood types even have different mod compatibility, like steam and rails. And don't worry, it works on the big cogwheels too. They even add special half shaft and no shaft cogwheels, which look really cool. They're very interesting. Although I kind of wish the no shaft cogwheels could be attached to like a wall, so that they weren't floating, but instead like slapped right onto the block face. But they do look really cool. The mod apparently doesn't work with Encased, as we found out earlier, so keep that in mind. Confectionary is a mod about making all the sweet treats your heart could desire. It adds a slew of new sugary liquids that you can create, as well as a ton of new building blocks that you can make out of them. And as you can see, there are a ton of items that you can automate with these really deep and interesting automation paths. So if you like food, and you like sugar, and you like create Confectionary. And if you like building, then you like the Rechisled mod, and you'll love the Rechisled add-on. Pretty simply, it's a compatibility add-on between Create and Rechisled, so you get all the different options and abilities. It even adds some of the Create stuff. It's so good. There's really not anything not to love about the ability to chisel your Create mod blocks. It even goes and adds the mechanical chisel so you can do it all automatically. And what would be a Create building mod without the ability to automate the buildings? Sifter is a fantastic add-on, especially for you skyblock lovers. It takes the age-old idea of popping a mesh into a sifter and then dropping in a block. There we go. Like gravel, and you can see it sifts it down. And once it's done, you can pop out the items. It's super cool. There are even different types of meshes that award you different types of items on sifting. Like I just got bone meal from an andesite sifter with a brass mesh. But there are tons of different recipe combinations that allow you to get everything from experience to ores to quartz to kelp and stuff. It's so cool. And checking out the creative menu, there's even dust blocks and crushed endstone blocks, as well as custom meshes and advanced custom meshes for mod pack developers if you want to make things a little bit unique. And speaking of sifting through things, Create Recycle Everything is a mod for people who want to recycle everything. Feeling bad about that diamond sword you made? Just crush it down and it might turn into 2 diamond shards, which is worth 1 diamond. In fact, this mod just adds a bunch of crushing wheel recipes that just allow you to take all of your unused tools and unwanted things and turn them back into their resources. You might even be able to recycle netherite from your unused netherite materials if that's something you have. And the recipes are pretty reasonable. It only takes 2 shards to make 1 ingot again. And as you can see, a lot of the recipes to do so give you about 1 shard every time you do so. And I can even just click through the crushing wheel recipes, and you can see nothing here is particularly overpowered, but everything just allows you to get something back for useless items or things you don't need anymore. Personally, I think it's really cool that you can take enchanted golden apples and potentially turn them into 8 gold ingots, because that's what I would want out of my enchanted golden apple. Now, Garnished is an add-on that I hold very near and dear to my heart. It's all about nuts, and I've covered it a few times on the channel, so I'll keep this brief. But ultimately, it's another food add-on, as you can see. Everything you're looking at is some pathway to some insane amount of food, as well as some crazy automation. The mastic resin system allows you to create any number of strange blocks, though I won't go over it because I believe it's getting a major rework as of the recording of this video. But of course, we can find any number of cursed foods, like a chorus fruit bowl with all these different recipes. Or these, which I'm pretty sure is just a rock that you salt, sugar, and senile. In any case, it's a delightful food add-on, and it even adds a superheating fluid, peanut oil, which honestly has a really fun automation chain. Because who wouldn't want to feed a blaze burner their nuts? You ever had the issue where you have stress units over here, but you really want them over here? Boy, wouldn't it be ugly and annoying to have to move them by shafts and cogs and stuff. Well, with the energy transfer from Ender transmissions, that's no longer an issue. This is kind of like a wireless stress unit box, and you can see this guy is receiving the stress units from this fella. If you right click on the dude, you can see you could have 10 networks, and in each network you can set a new name. So I could say water wheel for this network, and then you can see this guy stopped spinning, and that's because I need to set this to water, wheel. And there we go. It's so cool having a way to do wireless transfer, and the recipes are pretty reasonable if you ask me. There's even a fluid transfer block and an item transfer block, all with the same network and name scheme. So you can pretty much connect your whole world together. And if you're worried about chunk loading, they've even got a Chunkloader. And if we're talking about chunk loaders, Power Loader is a great add-on. There's an andesite Power Loader, which just does 1 chunk, and then a brass chunk loader, which can do 1 to 3x3 to 5x5, which is pretty big, all things considered. And in proper create mod fashion, these guys do need to be powered at a certain speed, and they'll turn from gassed to portal. I don't know the specifics of how that works, but it loads a chunk. What I really like is you start with these empty loaders, which again have pretty reasonable recipes, and then you gotta grab yourself a gassed like it's a blaze burner, just like that. So really fun integrated way to get one of these. And of course, another chunk loading mod just called Create Chunk Loading adds the Chunkloader. This guy works on contraptions. So if you find yourself with a spinning windmill farm that you want to ensure is always loaded, just slap one of these guys on it and it'll load the chunks that this guy is in. This is especially fantastic for use on trains that cross dimensions and other things, so it is very much different than Power Loader and serves a fantastic alternative purpose. The two of these mods together makes a powerful combination. This behemoth of a structure is the Ore Excavator, and in order to show it off, I'm gonna need this ore vein finder, and we gotta leave the box. This mod allows you to use the ore vein finder to look for ore veins or liquid veins, as you can see, within a radius around you and get an infinite amount of them. This process can take a while, so I'll see quite a bit. Awesome, we've picked up iron within 300 blocks of us. That's pretty far, but something to help is this is a chunk-based mod, so we can go chunk by chunk and see if we're getting closer to it. Looks like it might be in this direction. Now, as we get pretty close to it, you might see it start saying found nearby. Perfect. This means that within a 1 chunk radius of where we are, an ore vein is present. There we go. Found in chunk raw iron. Let's get to it. So in this mod, you have a different type of drill, and we can look for the iron recipe. So here it is. You could use any type of drill on just a regular drilling machine. And these guys are a little pricey, but honestly not too bad. You want to drop down your multi-block structure in the proper chunk and then give it a drill by right-clicking. It starts to spin. We could even put some goggles on to find some more information about that. And right now it's telling us there's a chunk of raw iron and that this drilling machine is just not rotating with enough speed. I'm going to use a creative motor because I'm a rotten cheater. Put this guy at 128 RPM. Just because I can, and you can see it begins to drill, and as you would probably guess, the raw iron will come out of this port here. And if we drop a funnel on that, you can see it will spit the raw iron out. We can put a belt line and chests and stuff, and all things considered, especially at 100% speed, this thing moves pretty fast. Now, it's not cheap. It requires quite a bit of stress units, but this is an infinite supply of iron. And as a kicker, you can have an infinite number of these drilling machines in this chunk, top to bottom. Every single one of these will mine iron for you. It might require an industrial level nuclear power plant, but that would also be more iron than you could ever do anything with. They even have a fluid drill that can drill up water. I don't know why you would want that. Numismatics has a fantastic new add-on that adds all sorts of economy stuff, like the ability to sell and buy items for a custom currency from other players. You have bank accounts that you can access, as well as abilities to submit custom amounts of money that you can configure for redstone signals. You've got credit cards, you've got ID cards, you've got blazes and top hats that are actually banks. And this mod is in beta. Yeah. This is just the development phase. I've already covered this on my channel, so I won't go too in-depth into it, but just know that Numismatics is the new economy solution, and you're going to be hearing a lot more about it. But I hear you. You saw the intro. I know what you're here for. You're looking for add-ons with a bit more punch to them. Potato Punch! This is the potato weapons add-on that adds a potato revolver, a potato sniper rifle, a grenade, which really kind of doesn't have much to do with potatoes at this point, and the potato mine. Again, not much to do with potatoes on that one. You do make it with a potato. And then, but to the potato, I don't know what this is. Stepping on it doesn't do anything. The add-on is admittedly a little bit unfinished, but it's very fun to have a potato revolver and just hit pigs with it. Let me see if I can snipe this bee. Oh, I got it! That was great! But of course, Create Armory is the one you all came here for. This mod adds an absolute slew of weapon parts and weapons for your absolute heart's desire. This thing is cool. They even add these mounted ones. I don't quite know how they work. Do they need, like... I don't know, I haven't had a lot of time to play with them. Oh, input ammo with hoppers and funnels, redstone to activate. So I would imagine then that this is just, yeah, okay, so this is active, but that's so cool. Look at the effect it has on the front. I wouldn't advise doing this, but how much, oh my gosh, that does so much damage. I have to say, a lot of these recipes are pretty good. Like, the automation here is very nice. Casings you make and then pack gunpowder into. This is just too much fun. Personal favorites is the shotgun, which just blows you back and then has this awesome loading animation. And this ammunition, which is shot by the junk gun, which is potentially Fallout inspired. I have no idea. Makes a horrible sound when you fire it. Ugh. And of course, who doesn't want one of these guys in their arsenal? Ooh, that breaks blocks. The smoke grenade is pretty fun to use, I think. I don't know that it necessarily hides you too much from things, but definitely has some fun multiplayer implications. And it lasts a while. And it even has the griefing machine, or the impact grenade. But everyone knows this is the griefing machine. Very satisfying to use, though. But there you go. 30 add-ons for you to try out. Comment which one's your favorite, and definitely don't download them all at once. It'll break your game.